And she did not want anyone to know about this. She thought it might be she was doubtful of herself, of her own experience. She thought this might be discouraging to people. That is not the judgment of the church. The judgment of the church is that this experience confirms the depth of her sanctity. That she, as someone has said, was more holy than anyone ever dreamt. And I think this is an accurate judgment. We can ask ourselves how much this revelation of Mother's interior experience may come to touch countless people who struggle with this same darkness in their lives. And to see that someone who lived on bare faith for 50 years without any consolation, hardly at all, managed to remain faithful to the end. Thinking of the Mother's experience on this weekend, I remember the moment that I had the privilege of being in her presence once in my life for just maybe 2 minutes. And I shook hands with her. She wrote a little note for me. I looked in her eyes, and I'll never forget it. Never, ever forget it. And in thinking of it today, it strikes me that she didn't experience her belief. She didn't feel that she believed. But maybe the reason was that everything she did, her faith just came pouring out of her. Because when I was in her presence, I felt her faith. I looked in her eyes, and this was someone, if she doesn't believe, then no one ever did. And it stays with me 15 years later, and will always stay with me. It's as if all that her believing was just given away. Her interior life of devotion and faith, fidelity to the prayer of the church was just poured out for anyone that was there to get it. Who does that remind you of? What does Jesus do on the cross? He pours out even the water and blood. Everything from his inner life is poured out, given away for you and me, that we might have life. And he associated Teresa of Calcutta with this outpouring of love. And we are the beneficiaries of this great saint. And so we can consider just for a minute, who is this Jesus that asked such terrible suffering of Teresa of Calcutta? Who is he? Who is he for her? Who is he for you and me? There's only two answers, two possible answers. If I ask you to give up everything for me, to renounce all your possessions for me, what are you going to think of me? Are you going to do that? If you think I'm a fool, and you'd be right. Either Jesus is a fool or he's God. Because what he asks in the gospel today is what only God can ask, and indeed does ask. In the book of Deuteronomy, we are told, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The Lord your God you shall love this way, and no one else." The gospel this morning, I would suggest, is simply Jesus taking this passage and putting it in terms of himself. That is to say, for us, either he is a fool or he is God. And if he's God, then everything he says is true. And we can trust it to the end. That was certainly the attitude of Teresa of Calcutta, that she put her faith in this man who called her to be a light to the poor. And think of the fruitfulness of that renunciation. We talked about Paul and Onesimus, so this one man might benefit from Paul's renunciation. How many millions of people have benefited from Teresa of Calcutta's renunciation, of staying faithful to the end, to the faith that she accepted? Every fall, I speak at all the Masses about our parish offertory renewal. And this is the Sunday to do that. And I've just done it. Pretty much. You've received letters in the mail. Next week we'll have the in-pew commitment to our parish to renew our commitment for this year. It seems to me that this is a good Sunday just to take stock of that, of what this life means to us. In this church building, and in this community of faith, you and I have living communion with the one who called us to renounce everything for the kingdom. In this church, in this place, in this community, we have living communion with Teresa of Calcutta. Her memory resonates because we share the same faith that she did. You'll recall those images of Mother Teresa, who was known for her hour of adoration before the Blessed Sacrament. For all the work she had to do, she would pray before the Blessed Sacrament. Now we know that inside she felt virtually nothing from this. But there she was, there she was. We have an adoration chapel right here, the same Lord, the same sacrament, the same faith that strengthened her, nourishes us. And so the question, at least for me, in light of all that, is, what do I renounce of my possessions to help to build up this community of faith and be the light that Jesus wants me and us to be? Cary.